And I know that one of the people that is one of your business associates, friends, colleagues, is Fred Van Loo. And you have started incorporating some of the techniques that you have learned through him and what he provides. And maybe you could just share a little bit about how you met and why you were drawn to what he was teaching.
Well, actually, I met Fred Van Loo in, I think, 1991 when I was a freshman chiropractic student. He came to the seminars, and he was considered the water doctor, and really that's all I knew him for at that point.
Right.
I fell in love with his systems back then about how important water is, because one of the teachings we talk about all the time is how important water is as far as just general healing. And
right.
People simply won't heal if they're dehydrated. And there's so many chemicals just in the city tap water, and even so many very poor quality filters. I decided a long time ago that I wanted those filters for me, myself, my family, and I've encouraged many patients to get them. I wish more of them would, but many of them do. Personally, I have the full house system, and that's where I started with it.
Oh, could you just explain? Because I mean, I think there are people that think, oh, I'll go buy some bottled water. Why would I need a shower filter? Or why would I need a whole house filter? And I was exposed to this concept 20 years ago, so I have my own experience, but maybe you could share, why? Why as a from a professional standpoint and a personal standpoint?
Right. Well, one of the things that I teach, kind of my standard, is I talk about it's the owner's manual for the human body. I'm not totally sure I coined it. I may have stole it from somebody, but unfortunately I can't remember who. So I like to take claim for it. And what I say is it's oxygen, water, nutrition, a healthy functioning nervous system, exercise, rest, and then I add a positive mental attitude. If we have unhealthy material around the cell, unhealthy liquids, then there's no way in the world the cells are going to function right, because the cells end up closing down. They get into a very stressed mode, and then on a cellular level we actually kick on really the adrenal response. And we live in a society today where there's so much stress, there's so much that we have to do, there's so many things that we have to do on a day-to-day basis that the outside environment's kicking us into adrenal stress. If our inside environment's doing it, this is the reason that we end up with things like Syndrome X and all the ADHD problems with kids, and well, it's one of the reasons. There's a whole list of them, but obviously the toxin load, and fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and the list can go on and on. It's all of the diagnoses that the medical doctor might give somebody that they don't really have an answer for. They could throw drugs at these people to cover up various symptoms, but that seems to just make them sicker and more sick and more sick and more sick.
Right.
So,
well, when it comes to I'm sorry to interrupt you, but because I don't want to forget to address this issue because we're talking about so many different areas, but when it comes to the water, I think I would like to have you explain. People don't understand. We were talking about the whole house filter and how you felt the need and that it was essential for you to have filtration once you first understood what was happening. And maybe you can explain to the viewers, why do they need a whole house filter? Why do they need a shower filter? Because most people think that the water coming in the house is fine to shower in and to bathe in.
Absolutely. Well, I saw a demonstration one time where someone took a cup of water and they took the pool chemical that tests for chlorine, just chlorine, and out of everything that's in the water, there's like 2,000 chemicals, maybe a lot more than that. That's a fairly old number.
Yeah.
But I saw someone take a glass of water and just put a couple of drops of that solution that they test the pool with for chlorine, and it turned the water bright yellow. I saw them take another cup of water from a sink, put it in their mouth, swish it around for just a second, spit the water back out, okay, maybe a little gross, put the chlorine drops in it, the water was totally clear. Where did the chlorine go? It had to be absorbed into that person that fast.
Oh, wow, right.
Well, I think what a lot of people tend to forget is that our skin is pretty much it is the biggest organ in our body. It is primarily a detox organ. It's also an immune system organ. There's a crossover there. It is what keeps the outside out and the inside in. But the skin is actually not a solid material. It's pores, and we hear about that all the time. It's how come when we were teenagers we get all the blemishes and things like that. But if you can take a shower, the way that an industry gets rid of toxins is they aerate it. They'll take water and they'll aerate it. Now, they can use that to water their grass. You know what? The grass is probably fine, as long as nothing's eating that grass. But that's how industry gets rid of chemicals, is they aerate it. Well, if we want the pores to open up, we heat the body, which is why we might want to do something like a sauna or something along that line, because that opens up the pores that allows us to sweat. Well, I don't know about you, but I love to take a nice hot shower.
Yeah, I do too.
We put ourselves in a contained room. We close the vapor lock on it, basically, by either pulling the curtain or shutting the glass door.
Right.
We aerate the water, and then we heat up the room, and then we're breathing that stuff, number one.
Right.
And number two, it's being absorbed right into our body. So the stuff that we're physically coming in contact with, the stuff that we're cooking with, all of these things, the more toxin that's in the water, it's got to go somewhere. Some of it's going to stay in the water, go down the drain, but a good portion of it's going to be absorbed right into our body, because we're giving ourselves all of the things, the opportunity for our body to absorb those, opening up the pores and aerating the chemicals right out of the water.
Right.
But just washing dishes and things along that line, stuff that you're going to have your hands in, all of those are a big problem. Now, obviously, the stuff we're flushing down the toilet, no big deal, but most of the water that's in our house, we really do come in close contact with it. Then in addition to that, there's the stuff we're going to be eating, drinking, and cooking with. So we have the whole house system that's going to give us quite a lot of protection. It's going to get rid of a lot of the toxins. And one of the unique things about Fred Van Leeuwen's system, I'm not going to say that nobody else offers it because I haven't looked at every system out there, but it's the only one that I know of. Every one of his systems also deals with the energetics of the water. And that's really a unique topic. There's a whole history of about 200 years of a healing art called homeopathy. And what they do with homeopathy is they take little finite amounts of whatever it is. Let's say somebody has an arsenic poisoning, they'll add arsenic to water, or they could use an alcohol solution, what have you. And then they're going to dilute that. They're going to dilute it 100 to 1 multiple times, 15, 20, maybe 30 times, sometimes thousands of times. But each dilution actually makes the homeopathic medicine stronger, because our body is so powerful. Our body has an innate ability to know exactly what's going on, and when you add the smallest amount of something, it like turns something on inside the body. Well, what's happening in our water systems today is, number one, they're dumping all sorts of toxins into the water. All of our water systems in America, at least, probably around the world, are toxic with chemicals from drugs that people have consumed, pass through their body, or just dispose down the toilet. Horrible idea, but that's what a lot of people do. In fact, it's what they tell you to do when you're disposing. Is flush them down the toilet.
Right.
So these are in our water systems. They're inescapable. They may be in micro or minute amounts, but remember, the more you dilute something, the stronger it actually can have an impact on the body. Fred Van Leeuwen's system, number one, has the ability to cleanse most of those drugs out, but most filters don't have the ability to cleanse the energetics of the water out.
I have no. Okay, can you define that? Because people listening to you may go, "What is that?"
Sorry.
No, but I'm saying
absolutely. What happens is water takes on a memory of everything it comes in contact with. Now, nature has a way to get rid of the memory, to erase the memory. Unfortunately, most of the water isn't in the nature system. But for everything that the water comes in contact with, other people, chemicals, drugs, pretty much anything out there, even if you could cleanse the water of the physical chemicals, it's going to retain the memory of it. I believe it's Dr. Emoto's work, the memory or the emotion of water. And it's becoming a lot more popular. I've heard a lot more people talking about it, and it's something I've been following for a long time. What Dr. Emoto basically did is he would put the word love or the word hate on water, and you'd get either this beautiful crystal when he froze it, or you'd get this decomposing looking mess, depending on what was happening with the energetics. Now, that was just a word put on the outside of a bottle. I'm talking about things that have been physically in contact with this.
Right.
So anything the water becomes in physical contact with, it's going to retain a memory. And when it retains that memory, it's going to impact whatever else that water comes in contact with, whether that be the inside or the outside of our body. So that being said, even the best filters available, and there's some amazing filters out there, but there's a lot of junk filters too.
Right.
But even great filters that are filtering out the chemical component of it, I've never seen any other system other than Fred Van Loo's system where he's actually working on unmemorizing, having the water lose its memory
Okay.
of the things it's become in
Something
contact.
it's come in contact with that was toxic.
Right.
Basically. Okay.
So nature has a natural way of doing that.
Right.
And number one, basically things are evaporated up and then rain down onto a mountain, down a river, and as the water goes down through the river, it's going to pick up minerals and it's going to dump toxins and it's going to dump the genetic memory as the water molecules bump around.
Right.
Fred Van Loo's systems have a couple of things available to do to help our water do that. And depending on what we're doing with the water, there's higher and higher levels of basically getting rid of the number one, toxins, but number two, the memory that's contained in the water.